I brought a simple girl home. She had amnesia, but she was stunningly beautiful. I lied and told her she was my fiancée, and the simple girl believed me. But later, when her memory returned, it turned out she was a wealthy, high-society heiress. She went back to her world without a second thought. 2 years later, we met again. I saw her with my own eyes. The girl who was once so simple was now grinding her high heel into someone's fingers, coldly saying, "Useless." Just as I was about to run, she stopped me. "Fiancé, did you lose your memory too?" Miriam and I met again at the university. She had donated a library building, and the school had invited her for an interview. "Ms. Vanderbilt, you're so young and accomplished. What made you decide to invest in education?" Her tone was exceptionally calm. "My wish is to let those who want to read have books to read." "Is this wish related to your past experiences?" Miriam fell silent. 3 years ago, she had lost her memory, been abandoned in the middle of nowhere, and endured the hardest year of her life. Nobody knew about this. I sat in the audience, watching her from afar. The Miriam of today was dressed in luxury, her expression a mask of indifference. And I was just a college student who had recently applied for financial aid. Less than 100 yards separated us, yet it felt like an insurmountable chasm. My roommate cupped his face, completely infatuated. "She's so beautiful, truly my dream girl." Another roommate chimed in, "Mine too." There were plenty of rich kids who got famous online, but few were like Miriam, whose looks and figure could outshine anyone in Hollywood. Everyone jokingly called her their dream girl. By the way, have you guys heard the rumor about her disappearing 3 years ago? I heard she just went abroad to study. She didn't disappear. "Edward, have you heard?" a roommate suddenly asked me. I shook my head. "No idea. I heard she was finally found out in Appalachia." "Edward, aren't you from Appalachia? Didn't you hear anything?" "No, I'm not good at lying." Thankfully, the dim theater lights hid my guilty expression. 3 years ago, Miriam wasn't just in Appalachia, she was at my house. She lived with me and ate with me for over a year. At our closest, I held her as we slept in the same bed. These were secrets that would have to die with me. The interview was nearing its end and moving to the QA session. A student raised their hand. "Ms. Vanderbilt, I heard you have a fiancé, and you even have his name tattooed on you. Is that true?" Gossip is human nature, and the atmosphere in the room livened up. "That's not related to today's topic." The person speaking was Liam, who was sitting beside Miriam. He was also a guest today. He was her right-hand man. Rumor had it they were childhood friends and that their families had been close for generations. "It's true," Miriam answered, taking the initiative. "The tattoo is right here on my pulse." She pulled up her sleeve, revealing a single, stylized word on her wrist. The crowd erupted. Liam was right there. Whose name could it be but his? And Liam himself shyly lowered his head, seemingly confirming everyone's assumption. It was a good match, a pairing made in heaven. They suited each other. My heart felt nothing. I just wanted to hurry back to the dorm and do my homework. As I was passing by backstage, the student council president stopped me. "Edward Thompson, you're just in time. Can you go get a jacket for one of the guests?" "Ugh, I have cramps and I can't go. Could you please do me this favor?" The president looked pale as she clutched her stomach. It didn't seem like she was faking. She had helped me a lot with my financial aid application, so I had no reason to refuse. The interview had already ended, and Miriam was walking towards the backstage area. Her long legs moved gracefully. I wanted to hide, but it was too late. She turned her head and saw me, her gaze lingering on me for a moment. Running now would be too suspicious, so I decided to stand my ground confidently. Thank goodness I was wearing a mask. Miriam frowned slightly. "Are you a student at this school too?" I nodded. She started walking towards me. "What's your name?" I only managed to get out the first syllable of my name before Miriam was pulled back by Liam. "Let's go, it's getting cold here." She was pulled away. When she looked back again, trying to find me, I was already gone. But I hadn't gone far. Their final conversation reached my ears. "Stop looking. His name is Edward, not him. But his eyes look like his. Even if it was him, so what? He extorted a huge sum of money from you." I lowered my eyes, trembling slightly. He was right. I was greedy. I had sold Miriam. I used to be called Edward Davis. My hometown is in Appalachia, a very poor small town. How poor was it? When I was little, my family couldn't afford rice. My mom would pick up discarded, spoiled noodles from others, wash off the maggots, and cook them for us. When I was 17, there was a huge snowfall and the mountain roads were blocked. I found Miriam at the village entrance, sitting there foolishly with a vacant look in her eyes. I walked up and asked, "What's your name?" "Mia." "Mia." She couldn't even speak properly. Something was wrong with her. I turned to leave, but she grabbed me, her eyes pleading. She was cold and hungry. In weather like this, she would freeze to death in a single night. People froze to death in our village every winter. Drunks would pass out in the snow, and their bodies would be stiff by morning. I didn't really want to get involved, but it was a human life. I couldn't just ignore her, so I took her home. That day, as I stepped into the house out of the wind and snow, I never imagined our lives would become entangled for so long. She looked a few years older than me, so I just called her Miriam. She had no identification on her, nothing at all, as if it had been done intentionally. I took her to look for her family, visiting various government offices, but we had no results for a long time. This wasn't surprising. In a small town like ours, everyone knows everyone. The clerks are all related and just killing time. Who was going to seriously help us solve a problem? They told us to go home and wait for news. That wait lasted a year, and the simple girl stayed at my house. Actually, I had selfish reasons too. My mom was sick and often confused. Later, in college, I learned her illness was called Alzheimer's disease, and it was incurable. I took care of mom every day, studied, and worked odd jobs. After Miriam arrived, at least I didn't have to work the odd jobs anymore. She was young and energetic, so doing some physical labor was no problem. But she was strange. At first, she couldn't do any work well. She was clumsy and complained about being tired every day. Seeing her just eating and not contributing, I got anxious. If you keep this up, I can't keep you here. Miriam panicked immediately. Edward, you can't leave me. I'm your wife, right? I had lied to her, saying that eating our family's food meant she had to marry me. It became a necessary white lie because this simple girl was so strikingly beautiful that she attracted swarms of local matchmakers. Only by saying this could I shut them up. Poor people marry young, and where I'm from, getting engaged in your teens is normal. When I said I couldn't keep her, Miriam was distraught. She had a naturally alluring yet detached face, but she looked at me with such timid eyes. From then on, Miriam worked hard and finally stopped being a freeloader. Over time, she gradually began to show an unusual side. Once, I was being bullied and the other boys were laughing at me. Miriam was waiting at the school gate to walk me home, and when she saw what was happening, she rushed over and beat one of the boys to the ground. She hit hard, aiming for vital spots like a crazed animal. She was unstoppable. In that moment, she was a complete stranger to me. I grabbed her arm. Miriam, stop hitting him. She stopped instantly, letting me lead her away. Edward said to stop, so I'll stop. The boy had multiple bruises, and his parents came demanding we pay his medical expenses. Our already struggling family finances got even worse. That night, Miriam seemed to know she had done something wrong, and she sat forlornly in a corner. When I went to comfort her, I found her face streaked with tears. I'm sorry, Edward, she whispered. I know I was wrong. I won't cause trouble again. Please don't leave me. When she cried, she looked like a little kitten. My heart softened, and I coaxed her, then be good. From now on, I only want an obedient wife, okay? The next day, Miriam came home with a sum of money. She had sold her watch. When I first found her, she had been wearing a watch that looked very expensive. I was frantic. How could you sell it? We need that watch to find your family. She just smiled brightly. You are my family. I'm not going anywhere. I'll just stay with you. This simple girl must have been cheated. Her watch was definitely worth more than what she got for it. But Miriam didn't care. She became very, very obedient, listening only to me. However, that boy later had a string of bad luck. There were nails in his shoes, bugs in his clothes, and pebbles in his rice. His bike tire went flat while he was riding, causing him to fall into the river, and so on. How could all of that be a coincidence? I looked at Miriam, and she looked back at me, grinning. Looking back now, Miriam showed signs even then. She would correct my English pronunciation, and I asked her, have you studied English before? She paused. I don't know. Have I? Though her memory was gone, the linguistic instinct remained. My mom told me back then, Miriam might be from a big city. I said, that's great. I want to go to college in a big city too. Mom looked worried, not having the heart to crush my hopes. If she really was a city girl, we would never have a future together. The gap between our worlds was too large. The day my final high school exams ended, it poured rain. Our old house wasn't sturdy and the roof leaked, making my small bed unusable. I had to sleep on the floor with Miriam. We lay very close, our breathing almost in unison. Can't sleep? She asked. What if I don't get into college? You will, she said. I hear students in the city are really smart. Their teachers are too. I work hard, but I probably can't compare to them. Where do you want to go to college, Edward? I thought for a moment. New York. I want to see the Statue of Liberty. Don't laugh. Every kid from the country dreams of seeing famous landmarks. Okay, then we'll go to New York and bring mom with us. Miriam, what if I don't get in? Then I'll take you, Miriam said with conviction. I'll take you both. My heart skipped a beat. In my 18th year, I finally experienced what it was like to fall in love. I was glad she was my fiancée. I reached out and hugged her, drawing warmth from her body. Miriam's body stiffened for a moment, and then she gently hugged me back. We held each other quietly, doing nothing, yet it meant more than anything. Thinking back on it now, I was dizzy with the sweetness of that night. I was so lost in the moment that I didn't notice Miriam's change. She wasn't simple anymore. Every word she spoke was smooth, hiding a sharp edge. Her eyes, too, glinted sharply in the darkness. My memories of that night ended. I got the jacket and lingered backstage. Miriam was throwing a tantrum in the guest lounge. I didn't know what had happened, but she was furious. I peeked through the crack in the door and saw Miriam grinding her high heel into someone's fingers. Her tone was cruel and cold. Useless. I was startled. Was this the same Miriam? The Miriam who followed me around, saying she wanted to be with me forever? The Miriam who cried secretly in the corner after we paid the medical fees? Perhaps this was the real her. After starting school in New York, I read some business magazines and learned about Miriam Miriam's real situation. She was 8 years older than me, the second daughter of the Vanderbilt group. Apparently, she was an illegitimate child, but that didn't diminish her status. Not yet 30, her methods were already notoriously ruthless. A year ago, she had personally driven her older sister to a mental breakdown, becoming the sole heir. The words in the articles couldn't fully capture Miriam's fierceness. Seeing it in person today was somehow both familiar and strange. Maybe I should just leave the jacket by the door and go. As I hesitated, the door was pushed open. Who's outside? Miriam walked out. Her face was expressionless, her glasses reflecting a cold indifference. In that moment, I actually shivered. It's okay, I told myself. I have a mask and a hat on. I pulled the brim down. No one would recognize me. I calmed myself. This is for Liam. Before I could finish, a classmate walked past backstage and called out to me, "Edward Thompson, you haven't gone back to the dorm yet?" The moment he said my name, Miriam gripped my wrist tightly. Her grip was incredibly strong. "What's your name?" Miriam stared intently at me. I didn't speak, so she reached out to remove my mask. Just then, I saw my savior. I called out, "Edward, you're here." Miriam abruptly let go of my wrist. She looked at me, then at the boy I had called over. I continued, "The head of the publicity department was looking for you earlier." "Oh, okay, I'll go find her. I'll go with you," I said, taking the chance to put the jacket down and leave with my classmate. Coincidentally, this boy had the same first name as me. Leaving the small theater, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. The boy asked, "Edward, what were you saying to Ms. Vanderbilt just now?" "Just running an errand for her." "Really?" The vibe between you two felt really weird. "How so?" "Like she was really fierce. It looked like she wanted to eat you alive." He wasn't wrong. Miriam did want to eat me alive. The reason for that traced back to the summer after my 18th birthday. The day my exam results came out, an unexpected visitor arrived in our village, Liam. He introduced himself as Miriam's friend and said he was there to take her away. My mom's words had come true. Miriam wasn't just from a big city. She was a rich heiress. The reason she ended up there was also complicated. She had been framed by her sister and had an accident. Luckily, she didn't die, but her brain was injured. All I can say is that the drama in wealthy families runs deep. At first, I treated Liam as a guest, but when I learned his name, I froze. In our village, everyone called me Edward, even my mom. Only Miriam had called me Liam. I had wondered about it first, and now I had the answer. Every time Miriam had called my name, was she actually calling out to someone else? Was her kindness towards me, her obedience, all because she saw me as a substitute for Liam? Liam was so handsome in his suit and tie, with his polished leather shoes. He and Miriam, standing together, looked like they belonged to the same world. Then there was me. The patch on my knee felt like a joke, but I still held on to a sliver of hope. When Liam was about to take Miriam away, I asked, "Is she going willingly?" "Of course," he said, crossing his arms and looking down at me. "She's the young lady of the Vanderbilt group, with billions in assets to inherit. You wouldn't want her to stay here and live a hard life with you, would you?" "I don't believe it. I want to hear her say it herself, please. She's recovered her memory. She doesn't even want to see you. Also, I heard you tricked her into thinking you were getting married. So manipulative at such a young age." "No, let me see her." "Fine, since you insist on hearing it from her." Liam took out his phone and played a voice message. "Liam, thank goodness you came in time. I was almost deceived." The voice was pleasant, and it was unmistakably Miriam's. "Did you hear that clearly?" Liam asked. "I'm taking her." He stuffed a large sum of money into my hand. "This is hush money. I don't need to tell you the rules, right? I didn't actually want this humiliating money, but Mom was terminally ill and urgently needed money for treatment. Miriam had already abandoned me. I couldn't lose Mom, too. I was disappointed, but I quickly calmed down and weighed the pros and cons. I would let Miriam serve one last purpose. I said, "Is that all? It's too little. You lack sincerity." Liam seemed surprised that I would say that. "You really aren't some innocent kid, are you?" "That's right. I took her in precisely for a day like this." "Satisfied?" "You're truly despicable. Since you know I'm so despicable, shouldn't you hurry up and add more money to shut my mouth?" Liam was choked speechless by my retort. In the end, I got a large sum of money, all of which was used for Mom's medical treatment. But it still wasn't enough to save her. The day my university acceptance letter arrived, she cried tears of joy. That was the last time I ever saw her smile, and the last time I ever saw her cry. She said, "Edward, you have to study hard. See the Statue of Liberty and the Grand Canyon for me. I was just a country woman, and my whole life, I couldn't give you a good life. Don't blame your mom for that." How could I ever blame her? She had already done her best to give me everything she could. I was content, very happy, and I loved her very much. Later, I arrived in New York. I saw the Statue of Liberty and the Grand Canyon. I took my mother's last name, becoming Edward Thompson. Miriam gradually faded from my memory. Only occasionally, when walking down a bustling street, I would suddenly remember that this is where she grew up, surrounded by scenery she took for granted. But so what? We were never going to meet again. Today, that certainty was shattered, but not completely. I quickly pushed Miriam out of my mind and attended the next student council meeting. The president announced, when Ms. Vanderbilt left last time, she asked for a copy of everyone's resume. My heart skipped a beat. receipt. Resumes. I have no idea what for. I knew that resumes don't just have names and photos, but also list your hometown and background. In front of her, I was practically an open book, but I held on to a sliver of hope. The Miriam of today had everything, so why would she bother with a poor student? The meeting ended, and everyone filed out of the office. The boy in front of me stopped, looking dazed. I asked, "What's wrong with you?" Miriam. I looked up, and Miriam was leaning against a corridor wall. I turned to run. "Edward Thompson," she called out. "Long time no see." Miriam took me to a restaurant, the kind where a single dish costs more than my entire month's living expenses. She didn't eat, she just watched me. I wasn't polite about it either. Since I couldn't hide, I might as well go with the flow and eat my fill first. After some time, Miriam finally spoke. "Why are you avoiding me?" This was her first question to me since we had reunited. I chewed on a crab leg. "Ms. Vanderbilt, you must be joking. I'm a poor student and you're a corporate heiress. We have no connection." "A fine no connection," Miriam said, her voice cold and unapproachable. This was the real her. "This is the most high-end restaurant in the city. I know all the guests who come here." I didn't understand what she meant, so I listened quietly. "I brought you here today, and everyone saw. Soon, someone will dig up your information and probe into our relationship. You won't be able to hide anymore." I wasn't scared. Instead, I smiled. "It's my first time eating such delicious crab. It's worth it. There's something even more delicious," she said. "What's that?" Miriam's features were exquisite, looking almost perfect under the crystal chandelier. "Don't you like money?" she said. "Spend a night with me, and I'll give you money." The Porsche sped towards the villa, Miriam's eyes bloodshot, the tires almost smoking. Just half an hour ago at the dinner table, she had asked me to spend the night with her. I had said, "Does your boyfriend know about this?" "I don't have a boyfriend." "What about Liam?" "He's just my assistant." "You two look like you're about to get married." "That's bullshit." The old Miriam would never have spoken to me like this. Meeting my gaze, her anger subsided slightly. "What I mean is, I have absolutely no relationship with him, let alone marriage." "Really? Then you're quite the player, letting everyone misunderstand like that." As I spoke, I spat out a few fragments of crab shell, and a tiny piece happened to land on Miriam's face. She looked stunned and forgot to wipe it off. I just feel that baseless rumors don't need to be addressed. If I had to clarify everything people say, I wouldn't get anything done all day. I'm just clarifying. Halfway through her sentence, she paused, looking somewhat surprised. Yes, she had just realized it. She was explaining herself to me. Someone like Miriam, who held so much power and did as she pleased, why would she waste so much breath on someone like me? "You have a point." I nodded in agreement. "For a player like you, that's a good strategy." I didn't take her seriously. Selling you for that money was the right move. Miriam's face instantly turned pale. My remark had clearly hit a nerve. I smiled sweetly. "So, do you still want to sleep together?" After that, I was angrily stuffed into the Porsche by Miriam. She made the 1-hour drive in 30 minutes. The villa lights were off. As soon as we entered the foyer, she pinned me against a cabinet, tearing at my collar with her teeth, her movements urgent and agitated. I didn't move. Just as she was at her most frantic, I said, "I want an internship in the CEO's office." Miriam froze instantly. I repeated, "The CEO's office at Vanderbilt headquarters. Only students with connections get to intern there. I could work hard for half my life and still not get that opportunity. I don't want money, but I want this opportunity." That was the Vanderbilt group. Countless college students would kill to get an internship there. Miriam slowly released me. "Are you serious?" "Yes," I said with a slight smile. "I want to learn at Vanderbilt so I can find a high-paying job after graduation." Crash. Miriam angrily smashed the porcelain vase by the door. Her hand was bleeding, but she seemed oblivious to the pain as she looked at me with an almost desperate expression. "Between us, is there nothing left but exploitation?" "What else is there?" she asked. "You clearly have other options. Coax me, get back together with me. I can give you anything you want." "No, that's too much trouble," I said. "I don't want your heart, and I don't want your feelings. Those things are useless to me." Miriam was practically gritting her teeth. "Edward Davis. Do you even have a heart?" "It's Edward Thompson," I reminded her. "I took my mother's last name." "Oh, right," she whispered. "She passed away 2 years ago, right after you left." "Miriam, I'm an orphan now. I don't deserve to have a heart. Do you have any idea how I got through those days? The two of you, one after the other, both left me within a month. I couldn't keep my mom, and I couldn't keep you." I tilted my head, still smiling. "Yes, I took Liam's money. I did it because I had no money for mom's treatment. You're so rich, yet you left without a second glance. What else was I supposed to do?" The more I spoke, the stiffer the atmosphere became. Blood dripped from her hand onto the floor. I was alone in New York, just trying to survive. If I slacked off for even a single day, I might not have been able to eat. "Miriam, I'm fighting with everything I have just to survive, and you ask me if I have a heart?" After asking that, "Do you have a heart?" Her face grew paler, and her eyes turned red, as if they were about to drip blood. She was stunningly beautiful. I thought she was going to explode. I expected her to lash out, to step on my fingers, to scold me, to humiliate me. But after a long wait, all the fight seemed to drain out of Miriam, and she bowed her head to me. "I'll give you whatever you want. Edward, just be with me, okay?" "No," I refused flatly. "I don't even like you. I only had a brief crush on Miriam when I was 18. Probably because of my poor family background, I learned a lesson early on. Don't desire things that don't belong to you. The day Miriam left, although I was sad, I quickly came to my senses. Now she wants to reconcile, which is strange. Maybe she's tired of slick, rich boys and wants a change of pace. But that's not important. I know very well that we are from two different worlds. I just needed to pave the way for my own future. Miriam finally let me go. The next day, I received an internship offer from the Vanderbilt group. I was as busy as a spinning top, seizing every opportunity and absorbing all the knowledge I could. On Friday, I finally got off work at midnight. My colleagues were exhausted, slumped over their desks. They were scrolling through their phones when suddenly someone exclaimed, "Hey, our CEO Miriam is trending on Twitter. She said her fiancé isn't Liam." When it comes to gossip, everyone gets excited. I silently packed my documents nearby. Let me see. CEO Miriam says her fiancé is someone else and hopes everyone won't misunderstand. But if it's not Liam, who could it be? Exactly. Besides Liam, who else is even worthy of her? She said her fiancé is a student and that it's inconvenient to disclose his identity. A student. Everyone started discussing what kind of student could have such power. Hey, Edward, a colleague called out to me. Look at that. He's a student too, yet he's already CEO Miriam's fiancé. Yeah, that's really impressive. I chuckled awkwardly. Oh, Liam posted on Twitter too. This is so exciting. He posted a line of poetry. I offer my heart to the bright moon, yet the bright moon shines on the gutter. Clearly, Miriam was the moon. The gutter couldn't be me, right? My mouth twitched. Gutter me. I finished my work and got ready to leave. Just outside the company building, I saw a woman holding roses just standing there. My head started to ache. Her name was Jessica. When I used to work at a boba tea shop, she often pestered me. I had refused her many times, but she persisted, even following me here. Jessica checked her reflection in a small mirror, and upon seeing me, she flashed a smile she clearly thought was charming. Edward, I'm here to pick you up after work. If you harass me again, I'll call the police. Don't be so heartless. I've got money. Wouldn't it be great if you dated me? I ignored her posturing, and Jessica got angry. Yes, people like her usually have high self-esteem and very little patience. Edward Thompson, don't push your luck. If I just beckoned, guys like you would flock to me. I said, don't you own a mirror? Take a good look. If you don't have one, go find a puddle and look at your reflection. Jessica was provoked by my words and started to get physical. The kid's got an attitude, huh? I wonder if you're this arrogant in bed. In my peripheral vision, a familiar figure walked out of the office building. It was Miriam, radiating an aloof aura. But before she could intervene, I shoved Jessica hard and poured the water from my cup over her head. Get lost, I said. If I see you again, I'll really hit you next time. Miriam stood frozen. What? Did she think I'd wait for her to solve my problems? Dream on. I stopped having those kinds of dreams a long time ago. Jessica was tall and sturdy, and being pushed by me made her lose face. She cursed and lunged at me again, only to be kicked to the ground by Miriam. Miriam looked cold and glamorous, her high heel pressing down on Jessica's hand, just like that day at the university. Jessica screamed in pain. I'm calling the police. You just wait. Go ahead, if you have the guts, Miriam said. Jessica glanced at Miriam's watch and immediately backed down. I was wrong, ma'am. I didn't know this kid was with you. I'll never bother him again. I was about to leave. Hearing that sentence made me unhappy. I'm not hers, I snapped. I'm my own person. I don't belong to anyone. Understand. Miriam finally glanced at me. Jessica was crying from the pain, and Miriam finally let her go. The storm had passed. Miriam offered me a ride, but the car didn't head towards the university. I said, you're going the wrong way. If you go back to campus now, can you even get into your dorm? That's none of your business. I haven't seen you in a few years, and your temper has gotten harder. You've even learned to step on people. I ignored her. She continued, is work going smoothly? It's fine. Tell me if anything is bothering you. If I tell you, will you pull some strings for me? Yes, she agreed quickly. I laughed. Miriam, have you gotten addicted to being used by me? Yes, she blurted out without thinking. I've thought it through. Just being useful to you is enough for me. Miriam took me back to her villa, saying she would drive me back to campus tomorrow. The last time I was here, the lights were off. Today, it was brightly lit, and I realized her house felt cold, not like a home at all. She took out a first aid kit. Sit down. What for? Your hand. Don't think I didn't see it. I was somewhat surprised. My hand was indeed injured. I had accidentally scalded it while getting hot water for a client earlier today, but not wanting to affect the project's progress. I had endured it without saying anything. I had put up with it all day. How did she notice? Miriam took my hand. You can't hide it from me, Edward. In front of me, you can drop the act. She knelt before me. She was such a cold woman, yet when she applied the medicine, she was surprisingly patient and gentle. Do you remember the first day I worked in the fields? I hurt my hand then, too. Vaguely. You bandaged it for me, just like this. I fell silent. My gaze wandered around the room, and suddenly, I saw a framed photo. It was a picture of me, Mom, and Miriam. It had been taken 4 months after Miriam came to our house. Someone had brought a camera back from town, and Mom had asked him to take a picture of the three of us. I still remembered that day, how Mom held the developed photos, cherishing them. Our Our family of 3, she had said. Miriam had chimed in, a family of 3. It was such an ordinary day, yet it was one that could never be relived. I miss my mom. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I held them back. But wait, how did Miriam have this photo? I suddenly realized something was wrong. This photo, I asked, wasn't it left back at the house? I went back to the house later to look for you and brought it with me. I was stunned. You looked for me? I returned to New York, settled things for a month, and then went back to find you. But the house was already empty. Miriam had also gotten used to calling that place home. Our old neighbor said that your mom passed away and that you left the village right after her burial. But why were you looking for me? Miriam looked at me strangely. To bring you to New York, of course. What else? But weren't you angry with me? I was angry, yes. I was angry that you abandoned me for that money. Miriam sighed with resignation. But no matter how angry I was, you're still my husband. What was I supposed to do? Who's your husband? The day you left, you showed no reluctance at all. You didn't even want to see me. I didn't refuse to see you, she said. Miriam pursed her lips. Actually, during that time, I also lost a relative. The day Liam took her away, Miriam's maternal grandfather was lying in the ICU. She was an illegitimate daughter and had been disliked since childhood. Old Mr. Vanderbilt only brought her home to motivate her older sister. If you don't work hard, the rewards will go to your sister. If you don't achieve something, the company will go to your sister. She was just a tool for comparison. In the end, Miriam got nothing. She had to tread carefully, enduring the wrath of her sister and her nominal mother. But there was nothing she could do about it. Who asked her to be illegitimate? Her father was the one who cheated, yet she was the one who had to bear the consequences. If she could have chosen, she would have rather not been born at all. In her 20s, Miriam's talent began to show, and her sister couldn't suppress her anymore. Compared to Miriam, her sister seemed hopelessly foolish. Thus began the dramatic wealthy family saga. 3 years ago, the older sister framed the younger one. The younger sister didn't die, but she suffered a head injury. She was dumped in the Appalachian Mountains to fend for herself. The official story was that she had gone exploring on her own, gotten lost, and it served her right. Just as her sister expected, since she was only an illegitimate daughter, old Mr. Vanderbilt didn't care much. The family made a symbolic search, found nothing, and then gave up. Her grandfather was the only relative who truly cared about Miriam. After her disappearance, her grandfather fell ill. The old man found Miriam's former confidants, including Liam, and asked them to secretly continue the search. However, the old man didn't have much time left. The reason Miriam had rushed back to New York was to see her grandfather one last time. Edward, I'd already planned to bring you and your mom over once things settled down. For over 20 years, I hadn't felt much family affection except from the two of you. You were my family. As she spoke, tears shimmered in her eyes. I knew why she was crying. She missed my mom too. My mom had been very good to her. When Miriam was mentally impaired and being bullied, my mom would gently comfort her and stand up for her. But why did you call me Liam? I finally asked the biggest question on my mind. Was it because of Liam? Why would you think that? Miriam asked, surprised. It has nothing to do with him, she explained. I called you Liam because when we first met, your real name was gone from my memory, and Liam was the only name I could recall. As for Liam, we're just colleagues. I'm never called him by his first name. It's too intimate to use for a subordinate. I recalled the details from that day with a flash of insight. Liam played a voice message for me where you said you were almost deceived. Miriam frowned, thinking back. I was talking about my former assistant. She acted like my confidant, but she had actually teamed up with my sister to trick me. Liam had used that message out of context to make me misunderstand. With her grandfather's critical condition, Miriam had to leave hastily, and we missed each other just like that. Miriam, your tattoo. It's you, she said, rolling up her sleeve to show me the stylized script up close. It has always been your name, Edward. Miriam looked at me seriously. Edward Thompson, I like you. Back on the night your exams ended, I decided that I wanted to be with you forever. The night my exams ended, MHM, she smiled. That's another secret. Miriam had actually regained her memory much earlier than I thought. She remembered who she was and her real identity, but she didn't want to wake up. She wanted to continue being my simple Miriam. She didn't want to leave me and Mom. If Liam hadn't shown up and revealed her grandfather's condition, she wouldn't have left so quickly. She had meant to explain all of this to me properly, but I disappeared without a trace, leaving Miriam unable to tell me anything. For the past 2 years, she had searched for me everywhere, but she didn't know I had changed my last name, so she could never find me. Miriam and I had reunited less than half a month ago. All the misunderstandings were cleared up, but I still rejected her request to get back together. There was no particular reason. Studies and my career were more important than love. That's all. I continued attending my classes and my internship. I heard that Miriam and Liam had a falling out. It turns out they weren't childhood sweethearts at all, nor was there any talk of their families being close for generations. It was all just clickbait rumors for gossip accounts. Liam was one of Miriam's assistants and had simply been with her for a relatively long time. After being betrayed by her sister, Miriam's inner circle underwent a major reshuffle. Because Liam was relatively loyal, he was kept on, rising rapidly and and gaining significant responsibilities. But he committed a major taboo by interfering in his boss's private life. A month later, Liam left the Vanderbilt group. You might ask why I didn't retaliate against him. It was unnecessary, truly unnecessary. Looking forward is much more interesting than looking back at him. Several more months passed, and Miriam's pursuit of me became known throughout the entire company. It all started during a client meeting. The client was a middle-aged, narcissistic, new-money type of woman who loved flirting with the young male employees. This time, unfortunately, she targeted me and even tried to grope me. Given that she was a company client, I could only keep dodging her advances. Miriam happened to pass by and saw everything clearly. The younger Miss Vanderbilt was known in her social circle for having a bad temper. She rushed in and grabbed the woman by the hair. Her methods were always ruthless. The woman couldn't handle it. Concerned about the company's image, I dashed forward and wrapped my arms around Miriam's waist. Stop hitting her. Miriam's anger vanished. She lowered her arm and smiled at me. Okay, I'll listen to you. It was like she had instantly become a different person. Her smile shocked the entire company. Everyone knew that the young CEO, Miriam, was aloof and cold. It turns out she had such a gentle side. I became famous. Everyone in the company knew my name. Coincidentally, my name was Edward. Coincidentally, I was also a student. After that, everything became self-explanatory. I even asked Miriam once, why do you like hitting people so much? Miriam said, I don't like hitting people, but in some situations, the law can't restrain certain people, so a beating is the only option. I won't allow Vanderbilt employees to be harassed, even if the other party is a client. I watched her for a long time and suddenly realized, you're actually pretty great, even when you're not pretending to be simple. Miriam smiled knowingly. Your internship is almost over, she said. What are your plans for the future? I've already decided. I pointed to the vast Appalachian region on the map. After graduation, I'm going to go back home first to help with poverty alleviation. Okay, Miriam said, I'll go with you. Vanderbilt has projects that can be brought there, and I'll donate some school buildings and books for the children in the village. Wait, you donated the library to our university. Was that also because of me? Obviously, she said, leaning on my shoulder with a gentle expression. I'll never forget the sight of you reading so intently under that single beam of light in the darkness. That was the first time my heart ever fluttered for someone. I grew rapidly within the company. When my 6-month internship ended, the department organized an off-site team building event. The Vanderbilt group was generous. Especially since they heard it was my farewell, the leadership allocated a large budget for everyone to have fun. It happened to be winter, and the department had suggested we go hiking on a snowy mountain. Miriam came along too. By now, everyone in the company was used to her being wherever I was. The snowy mountain was beautiful, but an accident occurred that evening. Everyone was cooking dinner at the bed and breakfast when suddenly a colleague asked, has CEO Miriam come back yet? Miriam had gone out at noon and still hadn't returned. Outside, there were signs of impending snow, and panic seized my heart. Once it started snowing, the mountain roads would be blocked. Where did Miriam go? Was she safe? Let's go find her, I said, and a few colleagues and I went out to look. We searched for half an hour without seeing any sign of Miriam, and I started to get anxious. The cell signal in the mountains was poor, so phone calls wouldn't connect. That evening, a local villager pointed me in a direction, saying he had seen a beautiful female tourist near the mountain entrance. I quickly ran towards the entrance. From a distance, I saw Miriam's figure. She was sitting on the ground, covered in snow. The scene overlapped with the day we first met 3 years ago. Miriam had been sitting just like this, amidst the vast snow. For a moment, I thought something had happened to her again. Miriam, Miriam. The wind and snow swallowed my voice, but she didn't move. I panicked. Miriam. She suddenly looked up. Edward, what are you doing here? You scared me to death. I came into the mountains to find a type of grass, she said. The villagers told me this grass sprouts in the snow. Its vitality is tenacious, much like you. I was speechless. So did you find it? MHM, look. Cupped carefully in her hands was a snow-covered, tender sprout. I said, leave it here. When the snow melts, it won't survive. Don't take it away, okay? Miriam placed the grass back on the ground. Before the next wave of wind and snow arrived, I extended my hand to her. Let's go, Miriam. Come back with me. Miriam and I held hands and never let go the entire way back. I said, tomorrow, there will be a sunrise over Golden Peak. Do you want to see it? Yes. Then do you want to watch it together? Of course. I'll wake you up in the morning. No need for that, I said. We can be in the same room together. Miriam looked stunned for a long moment, and then she understood my meaning. She almost jumped with joy, not looking composed at all. It was a good thing none of our colleagues were around. But this lack of composure was exactly like the simple girl I once knew. We returned to the bed and breakfast and informed our colleagues that we were safe. It was already late at night, and everyone gradually went to sleep. Once the door to our room was closed, Miriam stood on her tiptoes and kissed me. Her lips still held the chill of the wind and snow. Back on the night your exams ended, I wanted to do this, she whispered, her eyes curving into a smile, a slight red tint to them. Edward, reward me. The next day, naturally, Naturally, we didn't see the sunrise over Golden Peak, but it didn't matter. There was always the future. After the Appalachian project was secured, Miriam and I got married. The wedding wasn't grand. I prefer simplicity, and she listened to me in everything. At the wedding, Miriam acted unusually, crying more than I did. She said, "I have a home now." I replied, "I have a home too." We were two lonely souls who had wandered through time, finally meeting again. The day after the wedding, when I woke up, Miriam wasn't beside me. The famously cold CEO was in the kitchen, wearing an apron and cooking. There weren't many ingredients left, just enough for 2 bowls of egg noodles. My favorite food had always been my mom's egg noodles, but no matter how hard I tried, I could never replicate her taste. Only Miriam had learned mom's secret. Steam rose from the pot, a simple fragrance drifting out. I suddenly missed my mom terribly. It was her in that poor countryside who had given me endless tolerance and love. She had no education herself, but she always urged me to study hard. She often went hungry, but she would run all over town borrowing books and school supplies for me. Her love gave me the confidence to strive and get to where I am today. Mom, I have a family and a career now. Can you see me? The steam blurred my eyes. Miriam wrapped her arms around me from behind. Edward, from now on, I am your family. What is a home? It's not a luxurious house or a brand name sports car. It's us being together from dawn till dusk, watching the chimney smoke rise, long and slow.